Instructor Vale stood in the center of the training hall, watching the new cadets line up for the afternoon session. The hall was large, circular, and bright, designed to simulate open-field combat while still being safe for beginners. Energy pads covered the floor, absorbing impact. Transparent screens floated in the air, displaying the cadets' vitals, combat posture, and reaction times. Everything in the room felt calm, orderly, and controlled, exactly the way Vale liked it. She lifted her wrist slightly, glancing at the small alien device strapped around it. The threat scanner hummed quietly, its green light steady. The device was a gift from a Zyran diplomat, something designed to detect hostile intent in a 5-meter radius. It had never raised a false warning in all the years she'd used it. The thing was practically famous for being perfect. Vale exhaled slowly. Today's group was mixed. Several humans. A few tall Keth warriors with sharp teeth and even sharper pride. 2 small blue Telnori students who shook whenever Vale spoke too loudly. And, at the far end, Cadet Liren. Liren stood relaxed with his hands behind his back. Human like Vale but younger, maybe 19. Normally he was energetic, fast, and overly confident. Always smiling like he already knew he'd make it into the Academy's elite unit. But today he had been quiet. He hadn't joked with the other cadets. He hadn't asked Vale a dozen unnecessary questions. He had barely spoken at all. Vale made a mental note to check on him later. "Cadets," she called, her voice strong but calm. "Today we work on reaction training and defense stances. Nothing advanced. Nothing dangerous." The group nodded. A few of the Keth gave sharp growls of acknowledgement meant as respect, though it startled the Telnori. Vale stepped between them, her boots clicking lightly on the floor. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed routine. Then the threat scanner beeped. Not its usual soft notification tone, but a sharp electronic chirp that Vale had never heard before. She frowned and lifted her wrist. The green light was gone. In its place was a bright, urgent red. "Classroom hazard detected." Her eyes narrowed. That message did not exist in the device's standard alerts. The scanner was not programmed to use the word classroom at all. The cadets heard the sound too and fell silent. Even the Keth stared at the blinking red symbol with nervous curiosity. Is that bad?" one of the Telnori whispered. Vale didn't answer. She stepped forward slowly, scanning the room with her eyes, not trusting the device alone. The air felt normal. No temperature shift, no energy fluctuation. No visible threat. She checked the control panels. No malfunction indicators. Her gaze drifted from cadet to cadet, looking for tension, fear, aggression, anything. No one seemed hostile, except Vale's eyes stopped on Liren. He was standing straight. Too straight. His shoulders stiff. His breathing shallow. His eyes unfocused. Staring just past her rather than at anything specific. It was not the posture of a cadet ready to learn. It was the posture of someone fighting something internal, something Vale could not see. "Cadet Liren," she said calmly. "Step forward." He didn't respond. "Cadet," she repeated. Liren blinked. But his eyes didn't clear. He took a single step forward. As if pulled by invisible strings, some of the other cadets exchanged confused looks. They knew Liren. He was usually expressive, loud, and annoyingly cheerful. This silent version of him felt wrong. Vale lowered her center of gravity slightly. She kept her voice steady. "Tell me how you're feeling." Nothing. Not even a twitch." She raised her wrist again, and the scanner responded instantly, the red symbol flashing brighter. Hazard level rising. A cold, controlled alert ran through Vale's body. Whatever was happening, it was focused. It was specific. And she had no idea where it came from. Then Liren moved. Not a small shuffle. Not the confused step he took earlier. He charged. Fast. Without warning. Without sound. The cadets gasped, jumping back as he sprinted straight toward Vale. His expression didn't show anger or pain or any emotion at all. His face was blank. Empty. like he wasn't even present inside his own body. Vale reacted before any of the cadets could even scream. She stepped sideways, weight shifting smoothly. Her hand snapped forward in a controlled arc, not a strike, not a blow, but a precise motion aimed at a single, safe neural point on the side of Liren's neck. A technique teachers learned for emergencies, meant to stop a cadet instantly without causing harm. Her fingertips touched the spot. Liren dropped. Not violently. His body simply lost strength, folding as if he had fallen asleep, standing. Vale caught him before he hit the floor, lowering him gently. His breathing stayed normal. His pulse steady, but he did not wake. The room was silent for several seconds. Finally, one of the Keth students spoke, his deep voice rumbling with confusion. "Instructor, what happened? Why did he attack you?" Vale checked Liren's eyes. They were closed now, peaceful, as though he were resting. But the blank expression he'd worn seconds before still haunted her. "I don't think he attacked me," Vale said softly. "I think he was being pushed." The other cadets looked at each other. No one seemed to understand. She tapped the scanner once more. The red lights dimmed, then vanished entirely. The device returned to its normal state, green and calm. No threat detected, as if nothing had happened. Vale lifted Liren into her arms, supporting him easily. "Class dismissed for now. Training will resume after medical evaluation. Return to your quarters and stay together." But one cadet began. "That was not a request," Vale said, still calm but unmistakably firm. They obeyed immediately, filing out of the hall in uneasy silence. A few of them glanced back at Liren, worry visible on their faces. Cadets bonded quickly, and seeing one of their own collapse like that shook them. When the hall was empty, Vale carried Liren to the medical wing. The door slid open automatically, revealing the clean white service room inside. Dr. Halden, a middle-aged medic with a calm smile and tired eyes, looked up when Vale entered. "What happened?" "Uncontrolled movement," Vale said simply as she placed Liren onto the diagnostic bed. "Possible external influence." Halden's expression changed instantly. "Explain." Vale described everything. The scanner alert, Liren's strange posture, the sudden charge, the instant collapse. Halden listened without interrupting, typing notes as he ran a full scan of Liren's neural patterns. After a long moment, the doctor frowned. "Not worried. Confused. This is unusual," he murmured. "His brain shows abnormal activity in the premotor region, like he was preparing to act before thinking. That could describe training reflex," Vale said. Halden shook his head. "Not like this. This pattern looks forced. Controlled." Vale's jaw tightened. "By whom?" "I don't know. But it wasn't him. Not consciously." That was what she feared. Halden looked over the readings again. "He'll wake soon. But I recommend isolation until we understand this." Vale nodded. "I'll station guards." She stayed in the room even after Halden stepped out to get additional diagnostic equipment. Vale watched Liren's calm, sleeping face. The boy looked peaceful now. Normal, innocent. It was almost impossible to imagine the same body had charged her moments ago with unnatural precision. Her mind replayed the moment again and again. The scanner's warning. The strange, new message. The way Liren moved not like a cadet, but like a puppet. She ran her thumb across the scanner. The device remained quiet, as if pretending nothing unusual had happened. But Vale knew better. She trusted her instincts. She trusted the scanner. And she trusted her own years of experience. Something had targeted Liren. Something had forced him to act, and something had tried to hide it. A quiet beep interrupted her thoughts. Liren shifted slightly on the bed, eyelids fluttering. Vale leaned forward, watching closely. After a moment, his eyes opened. He blinked, confused, looking at the ceiling first and then at Vale. "Instructor?" His voice was weak, puzzled. "Why? Am I here? Did something happen?" Vale studied him carefully. He looked normal, sounded normal, as if he remembered nothing. "Do you recall the training exercise?" she asked gently. He frowned. We were lining up. You were giving instructions. Then, he hesitated, searching his memory. His brow furrowed deeper. I don't know. Everything feels blurry. Like someone erased part of my mind. Vale didn't speak right away. She felt the cold certainty settle inside her. Liren wasn't lying. He truly didn't remember, and that made everything worse. She shifted back slightly in her chair, her eyes never leaving him. Rest for now. The doctors will run more tests. Liren nodded, still looking troubled. Did I do something wrong? She shook her head. Not you. As Liren closed his eyes again, drifting back to sleep, Vale looked at the scanner one more time. Classroom hazard detected. The message echoed in her mind. The device had never been wrong. Something dangerous had entered her training hall. And it wasn't finished yet. Dr. Halden returned to the medical room with a stack of diagnostic tools, muttering to himself as he arranged them beside Liren's bed. Instructor Vale remained seated near the sleeping cadet, arms crossed, eyes focused, never letting her guard drop for even a second. She was not the type to ignore danger, especially when it touched one of her students. Halden glanced at her. You're still here. I'm not leaving him alone until we know what happened, Vale replied. The doctor offered a small nod. Understandable. I've reviewed the neural patterns twice. They're strange, but they don't match any known influence method. Not psionic. Not chemical. Not technological. That doesn't leave many possibilities, Vale said. No, Halden agreed. It doesn't. Which is why it worries me. Before Vale could answer, the medical bay doors slid open. 2 Academy security officers entered, both tall and armored in the Academy's dark blue uniform. The first was Officer Bren, a human with stern eyes. The second was an Orixian, a species with 4 thin arms and a calm, insect-like face. They approached Vale with authority in their steps. Instructor Vale, Bren said. We received notice about an incident in your training hall. Vale stood. I filed the report 10 minutes ago. Yes, Bren replied, and Command has already requested your statement. Word travels fast when cadets are involved, especially human cadets, the Orixian added quietly, his antennae shifting. Vale ignored the comment. I'll give my statement, but Liren stays under medical watch, and I want 2 guards outside this room at all times. You'll get them, Bren said. But Command also asked if the threat was ongoing. Vale hesitated. She didn't want to cause panic. But she also refused to lie. We don't know, she said. My scanner detected an external influence. It wasn't a glitch. Bren's eyes narrowed. Then, someone inside the Academy tampered with training equipment? Or something else, Vale said. Something we haven't seen before. The Orixian officer shifted uneasily. I'll notify Command that the risk might still exist. He and Bren left the room, and a moment later 2 guards took position outside the door. Vale exhaled slowly and looked at Liren again. The cadet slept peacefully, unaware of the storm building around him. Hours passed. Halden ran test after test, his face growing more confused each time. Liren remained asleep, his mind calm, his vitals normal. Vale stayed in her chair, barely moving, her thoughts turning in a dozen different directions. When Liren finally opened his eyes again, the room had grown quiet. Evening shadows stretched across the floor. He blinked at the light and slowly sat up. Instructor? He asked, voice low. Is it night already? Yes, Vale said. How do you feel? Like I slept for too long. He rubbed his forehead. Did you cancel training because of me? Vale stepped closer. Do you remember what happened? Liren shook his head slowly. Not clearly. I remember standing in the hall. I remember you speaking. Then, nothing. It feels like someone turned off a switch inside my head. Halden approached the bed. That's consistent with the scans. Your brain activity showed signs of forced motor preparation. Something pushed you to move before you had time to think. Liren looked horrified. Are you saying I attacked Instructor Vale? Vale answered firmly. You moved toward me, but I do not believe you meant to. I think someone was influencing you. But how? Liren whispered. That's what we plan to discover, Vale said. The door opened again, and this time, it was Commander Rake, the Academy's deputy director, a tall reptilian alien whose presence immediately made the room feel colder. His scales shimmered dark green, and his eyes were sharp as blades. Vale had worked under him for years. He was strict but fair most of the time. Instructor Vale, Rake said, voice smooth. I require a full report. And I want to hear from the cadet himself. Liren swallowed nervously. Rake's reputation was legendary. Vale stood between the commander and the bed. He just woke. Don't overwhelm him. Rake looked at her with amusement. Protective, as always, but time matters. If something compromised our systems, we must act. He stepped past her, folding his arms behind his back. Liren's voice trembled slightly. Nothing, sir. I mean, I remember the start of training, then it all goes blank. Do you recall any sound, light, or sensation before you lost awareness? Rake pressed. No, sir. It felt instant. Rake nodded slowly. Very well. He turned to Halden. Doctor, your findings? Halden handed him a tablet. His neural readings show external influence. But I can't identify the source. It's something new. Rake's eyes narrowed. New, unknown, untraceable. That is not something I enjoy hearing. He looked at Vale. And your scanner detected this? Yes, Vale replied. The warning was specific. Classroom hazard. It has never used that alert before. Perhaps your device malfunctioned, Rake suggested. Vale's jaw tightened. My scanner doesn't malfunction. Everything can malfunction, Rake said calmly. Not this, Vale insisted. And you know it. Their eyes locked for several tense seconds. Finally, Rake broke the silence. Regardless, I will authorize an internal system sweep. We cannot allow another cadet to be compromised. He moved toward the door, but before he left, he turned back. Instructor, Command has arranged a temporary stand-down for your classes. You will remain off-duty until this investigation is complete. Vale stared at him. You're removing me from training? You were the only instructor present, Rake said. Until we understand what happened. Protocol demands it. It wasn't my fault. I didn't say it was, Rake replied. But control must be maintained. Investigators will contact you soon. He left the room without waiting for her response. Vale felt heat rise in her chest. Not anger at Rake, at least not completely, but at the situation. The danger, the unknowns. Being taken off duty meant she couldn't protect her cadets, and that felt wrong. Halden sighed. He's following protocol. Protocol doesn't stop threats, Vale muttered. She looked at Liren again. His expression was troubled, his hands shaking slightly. I didn't want to hurt anyone, he whispered. I wouldn't do that. You know I wouldn't. I know, Vale said softly. This wasn't you. Liren looked relieved but still confused. Then what was it? Vale didn't answer, because she didn't have the answer yet. Later that night, after Liren had fallen asleep again, Vale stepped outside the medical bay. The two guards nodded at her but stayed at their posts. The hallway was quiet, the hum of distant machines echoing softly. She needed to see the training hall again, even if she technically wasn't supposed to. Her instincts told her the truth was hidden somewhere inside that room. And Vale always trusted her instincts. She walked through the empty corridors, each step echoing beneath the soft lights. The academy was peaceful at night, but to Vale, it felt strangely hollow now, like something unseen was lurking in the shadows. When she reached the training hall doors, she paused. The lights inside were dimmed, but the room was still and undisturbed. She entered slowly. The floor looked the same. The floating screens had powered down for the night. The air was calm. Nothing appeared unusual, but Vale wasn't fooled by appearances. She scanned the room with her eyes, then lifted her wrist. The scanner remained quiet. Glowing, soft green. She walked across the floor to the spot where Liren had stood earlier. She crouched down, touching the ground lightly. No heat marks. No energy residue. Nothing that would explain the influence. But something had happened here. She could feel it. She stood and walked toward the wall panels. The Academy's systems were advanced. Physical tampering would be nearly impossible without detection. She ran her hand along the panel seams. Everything was normal, but when she reached the far corner of the room, the scanner suddenly buzzed. A soft buzz. Not loud, not red, just a single flicker of yellow light. Vale froze. She turned her wrist slowly toward the corner. Hazard probability, 3%. Her pulse quickened. Even a small reading meant something. She stepped closer. The light dimmed. She stepped back. The light returned. A location-specific anomaly. Vale crouched again, brushing her fingers along the floor. Then she saw it. A tiny scratch in the metal plate. Not natural. Not from training. Something had been placed here. Or removed. And whatever it was, it had left an invisible trace. Someone had been inside her training hall before class. Someone had tampered with the environment without triggering the Academy's security systems. Someone had planned this. Vale stood slowly, scanning the room with sharper eyes now. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't mistaken. Something was hidden in the Academy, something aimed specifically at the cadets. And she had just found the first clue. She walked out of the hall with renewed purpose. She would meet the investigation team in the morning. But she would not wait for them to solve this. Liren had been targeted. That meant others could be next. Whoever had done this underestimated her. They wouldn't make that mistake twice. Instructor Vale arrived early the next morning, long before the Academy lights brightened to their normal daytime glow. Sleep had not come easily. Her mind had replayed the incident with Liren again and again. Every detail. Every second. The look in his eyes, empty and distant, would not leave her thoughts. She had seen fear, anger, confusion, and exhaustion in cadets before. But never that. Never that hollow lack of control. She entered the training hall quietly, almost hoping the anomaly she sensed last night was gone, but it wasn't. The moment she stepped inside, she felt the air tighten around her. Not physically, just a faint sense of wrongness, something her instincts registered even when her tools didn't. The scanner on her wrist stayed green, calm, as if mocking her. Vale crossed the room slowly, stopping at the same far corner where she found the scratch on the floor. It was still there, untouched. She knelt beside it again, brushing her fingers across the metal. A faint vibration hummed through her fingertips. Yesterday, she hadn't noticed that. Whatever was here was subtle, deliberately subtle. She straightened and tapped her wrist. The scanner hummed softly, reading the environment. No alerts, nothing, yet she felt watched. Just as she stepped back, the sound of footsteps echoed through the quiet hall. Vale turned sharply. A tall figure approached from the entrance, Commander Reek. He walked with his usual controlled posture, his reptilian scales glinting under the dim lights. "Instructor Vale," he said. "You're here early." "So are you," Vale replied, her eyes steady. "Investigators coming?" "They have already begun their analysis," Rake said. "I thought I would inspect the scene personally before they arrive." Vale raised an eyebrow. "You don't usually involve yourself in early-stage investigations." Reek's expression didn't change. "This Academy's reputation is important, and an incident involving forced cadet control is very serious." Vale didn't disagree. She stepped aside to let him examine the room. Rake walked across the floor slowly, scanning every corner with a careful gaze. When he reached the far wall, he paused. "You've been investigating on your own," he said. "Yes. That is against protocol. It's also necessary," Vale replied. Rake turned to look at her. "You think the danger is still present?" "I know it is," Vale said. "Something was placed in this room. Something capable of influencing only human neural signals." Rake folded his arms. "Why do you believe it targets humans specifically?" "Because Liren was the only human cadet in that exact position yesterday," Vale said. And because the neural patterns Halden recorded matched only human synaptic structures. Rake remained silent for several seconds. Vale could not read his expression, which made her uneasy. Finally he asked, "What did your scanner detect last night?" Vale hesitated. Telling Rake everything felt risky. She didn't know if he was with her or working against her, willingly or not. But she also knew she needed answers. "Hazard probability spike," Vale said. "Only around that corner." Rake crouched, tracing his fingers across the metal. He found the scratch, too. His posture stiffened slightly, so slight only Vale noticed. "This shouldn't be here," he murmured. "Exactly," Vale said. Before they could continue, the hall doors slid open again. A group of investigators entered, 3 humans, 1 mechanical drone, and a tall alien analyst in silver armor. Their energy scanners beeped softly as they began spreading out. One of the investigators, a human woman with sharp eyes and short hair, approached Vale. "Instructor, please step aside. We will handle the analysis from here." Vale didn't move. "I want to assist." "We don't need assistance," the woman said. "Your presence may contaminate the readings." Vale clenched her jaw. "My presence didn't contaminate the readings yesterday." The investigator's expression tightened. "You are currently under restricted duty. Please wait outside." Rake stepped forward, voice calm. "It is best you follow procedure, Vale." She wanted to argue. She wanted to stay. She wanted to watch every move these investigators made. But she also knew pushing back now would get her removed completely, so she gave a slow nod. Fine. She left the hall. But the moment she stepped into the corridor, she knew she couldn't relax. Something felt wrong about the investigators. Too confident. Too dismissive, as if they already knew what they would find or what they would claim not to find. Vale walked toward the medical wing to check on Liren. The corridor was quiet, only a few early staff members heading to their stations. She reached the medical room and entered. Liren was awake this time, sitting upright on the bed, legs swung over the side. He looked tired but alert. Halden stood beside him, checking his vitals. "Good morning," Vale said. Liren looked up. "Instructor, I feel better today." Halden nodded. "His readings are normal now. The neural disturbance is gone." "Gone?" Vale asked. "Just like that?" Halden shrugged. Whatever affected him left no permanent imprint. It was foreign, temporary, and focused. Vale took a step closer. "Liren, did you remember anything during the night? Even a sound or feeling?" He shook his head slowly. "No, but I had dreams. Or something like dreams." Vale's eyes sharpened. "What kind?" Liren frowned. "Flashes of light. Echoes of voices. Not clear words. Just pressure. Like something was pushing at my thoughts." Vale exchanged a look with Halden. The doctor's expression was troubled. "Did these dreams feel like memories?" Vale asked gently. "Not exactly," Liren said. "More like something trying to get in, not something coming out." A chill ran down Vale's spine. She sat beside him. "Listen carefully, Cadet. You didn't do anything wrong. But we need your help to understand what happened." Liren swallowed. "I'll do whatever I can." Before Vale could ask more, a sudden vibration buzzed against her wrist. Her scanner flashed yellow again. Hazard probability, 11%. Vale's heart tightened. This was not in the training hall. This was the medical wing. She stood quickly, scanning the room. "Halden, turn off external devices," she ordered. "Now." Halden reacted instantly, tapping a panel. The lights dimmed slightly as all non-essential electronics shut down. The scanner buzzed again. Stronger. Higher. Hazard probability, 16%. Liren stood shakily. "Instructor, is something happening again?" "Don't move," she said sharply. "Stay on the bed." Halden looked around nervously. "I don't see anything unusual." Neither did Vale. But that didn't matter. The scanner was picking up something. Something subtle. Hidden. Dangerous. Then the overhead lights flickered. Just for half a second, Halden froze. Vale's hand moved to the side of Liren's shoulder automatically, steadying him. The lights flickered again, slightly longer this time, and then a soft tone played through the room's speakers. A tone that wasn't part of the medical wing's usual alerts. Soft, pulsing, almost like a rhythm. Vale's scanner surged. Hazard probability, 27%. Halden, Vale said, voice low and controlled. Cut the audio feed immediately. Halden rushed to the console, but the panel refused to respond. It's not letting me override. Try manual cut, Vale ordered. Halden grabbed a toolkit and began removing the external panel quickly, his hands shaking. The tone grew slightly louder. Liren winced, pressing his hands to his ears. It hurts. Vale moved in front of him, blocking his line of sight to the speaker. Focus on my voice. Ignore the sound. I'm trying. The tone shifted pitch suddenly. Liren gasped as if struck. His entire body tensed. No, Vale said firmly. She gripped Liren's shoulders, grounding him. He shook under her hands, breathing fast and uneven. Hazard probability, 41%. Halden cursed under his breath, tearing open the panel. Sparks flickered as he cut a power line. The tone stopped instantly. Liren collapsed forward into Vale's arms, trembling. She held him steady, checking his pulse. Fast but strong. Halden wiped sweat from his forehead. Whatever that tone was, it wasn't from our systems. Someone injected it remotely. Vale tightened her grip on Liren. Someone is inside the Academy's network. Liren took a shaky breath. I felt it again. Like something pushing into my head. Not words. Not commands. Just pressure. Vale looked at Halden. This is deliberate. Targeted. And it's accelerating. Halden nodded grimly. We need to alert command immediately. No, Vale said sharply. Halden blinked. No? If we alert command, whoever is behind this will know we detected the signal, Vale said, and they'll hide again. We need to track the source first. Halden hesitated. That's risky. So is letting them attack another cadet, Vale said. She turned to Liren. You need rest. But you're not staying in this room. It's been compromised. Liren looked at her nervously. Where will I go? Vale met his eyes. Somewhere safe. Somewhere no one knows about. Halden looked uneasy but nodded. I can authorize temporary private quarters for medical isolation. Good, Vale said. We move now. As they prepared to leave, Vale's scanner buzzed one more time. A single beep, just enough to confirm her fear. This wasn't a random attack. It was the start of something bigger, and whoever was behind it was watching. Right now. Instructor Vale guided Liren through the dim corridors of the academy, moving with slow, careful steps. Halden followed behind them, carrying a small medical case in case the cadet reacted again. The academy was quiet at this early hour, the hallways empty except for a few cleaning drones humming softly as they rolled past. Liren held his head, breathing unsteady. Instructor, I feel strange again. Not like before, but like something inside my mind is waiting. Vale tightened her grip on his arm. You're safe with us. Stay close. Halden nodded. The private isolation bay is 2 floors down. No external connections. Whoever sent that signal won't find him there. They moved quickly, avoiding the main corridor where the investigators were likely setting up scanners. Vale didn't trust the investigation team, not after the reaction yesterday. They were too calm, too prepared. It felt like they were expecting something. They reached the lift and stepped inside. When the doors closed, Liren exhaled shakily. Instructor, why me? Why am I the only one they're targeting? Vale looked at him carefully. Because you're human. That doesn't make sense. There are other human cadets. Yes, Vale said slowly. But none with your neural adaptability. Your testing scores showed unusually fast pattern learning. That makes you vulnerable? Liren finished. Valuable, Vale corrected. To the wrong people. The lift door opened, and they stepped into a quiet hallway that led to the isolation rooms. These were rarely used, mostly for cadets recovering from mental stress or needing complete silence. The lights here were lower, and the walls thicker, blocking outside signals. Halden opened the door to an empty room. "This one will do. No systems active except air filters and lights." Liren stepped inside, looking around nervously. "I'll stay here alone?" "Only for a short time," Vale said. "I need to find the source of the attack, and I need you somewhere safe while I do." Liren nodded slowly. "I trust you." Vale placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're stronger than you think. Don't forget that." Halden set a small monitor next to the bed. "This device will alert us if your neural levels spike again." Liren lay down carefully. He still looked scared, but calmer. Vale dimmed the lights and closed the door. The moment they stepped outside, Halden whispered, "Vale, what's your real plan?" She exhaled. "Someone inside the academy is controlling the signals. It's not an outside hack. The academy network is too secure." "You think someone high-ranking is involved?" Halden said grimly. Vale didn't deny it. They walked through the hallway until they reached a secluded corner where no cameras were placed. Vale tapped her wrist, opening a private interface between her and the scanner. A small map projected above her arm showing faint traces, energy signatures, patterns too weak for normal sensors. "What is that?" Halden asked. "Residual traces," Vale replied. "From last night." Quote, Halden frowned. "But the training hall was cleaned." "Yes. Someone tried to erase the signs. But my scanner remembers the pattern." She zoomed in on the map. The trace led out of the training hall, across one corridor, up one level, and then dissolved into static. Halden frowned. "It disappears?" "No," Vale said, studying the glitch closely. "Someone blocked the signal there. Someone used an internal scrambler. Only high command officers can access scramblers." "Yes," Vale said quietly. "Which means one of them knows exactly what's happening." They both fell silent. Halden swallowed. "If someone in command is targeting cadets, that is beyond dangerous." "It's treason," Vale said simply. She tapped her wrist again. A new reading flashed. A fresh signal. Very faint, but moving. The source wasn't in the training hall. It wasn't near the medical wing. It was above them. "Halden," she said, "watch Liren. Don't let anyone enter that room. Not even officers." "What will you do?" "Find whoever is behind this." Halden nodded firmly. "Be careful." Vale walked away, moving fast but silent. Her boots made almost no sound on the steel floor. She climbed the narrow emergency staircase, avoiding the main lift. The scanner pulsed again, stronger now. She reached the upper level, a restricted area used for system servers and high-ranking command access. No cadet ever came here. Few instructors did either. The hall was almost dark. Vale stepped forward. The scanner flickered red for a blink of a second. Hazard confirmed. She froze, eyes narrowing. Someone was close. A shadow moved at the end of the corridor. Vale's hand went to her belt, not for a weapon, but for a small emergency tool, a compact device that emitted a burst of harmless light, meant to disorient attackers. She didn't know what she was walking into, and she didn't plan to be unprepared. She stepped closer. A door at the end of the hall was slightly open. Lights flickered inside. Vale pressed her back against the wall, slipping a single eye around the doorframe. Inside was a server room filled with glowing blue vertical panels and humming cables. And crouched beside one of the servers was Commander Rake. Vale froze. He was holding a small device in one of his clawed hands. A device shaped like a signal emitter. Its lights pulsed in the same rising pattern Vale saw in the medical room. She stepped into the doorway quietly. "Commander." Rake stiffened, then rose slowly, turning to face her. His expression was unreadable. "Instructor Vale," he said in a calm voice. "You should not be here." Vale didn't move. "And you should not be using that device." Rake's eyes narrowed. "Curiosity is dangerous, Vale." "That device sent the signal to Liren," Vale said. You caused the attack. That is incorrect, Reek replied. I defended the academy. By controlling a cadet's mind? Vale's voice sharpened. Rake didn't blink. Human cadets adapt too quickly. Their potential is unpredictable. They must be tested, controlled, shaped. Vale stared at him with cold disbelief. You're experimenting on them. On him, Rake corrected. Lyran has a neural structure that responds uniquely to frequency influence. He could become one of the Academy's strongest assets if guided properly. Vale stepped forward. You didn't guide him. You tried to override his will. Rake's eyes glimmered. Discipline requires sacrifice. Not like this, Vale said. Humans evolve too fast, Rake continued. Your species rises from weakness to power in mere generations. That makes you a threat to your allies, to your commanders, to stability. We simply take precautions. Quote, Vale felt a calm anger settle inside her. Cold, heavy, controlled. You're afraid of us. Rake didn't deny it. Fear is logical. Humans cannot be allowed to grow unchecked. Vale slowly raised her scanner, letting Rake see the red pulse it emitted. The Academy will hear about this. The Council will shut your project down. Reek tilted his head. I doubt that you will survive long enough to report it. He pressed a button on his device. The lights in the server room flickered. The air vibrated with invisible pressure, and Vale's scanner flashed a full red alert. Hazard level critical. Vale moved first. She lunged sideways as the signal burst through the room. The floor vibrated. Lights flashed. The device Rake held cracked the air, with waves meant to destabilize neural pathways. But Vale wasn't a cadet. She had trained for decades. She had fought in real battles. She slammed against the wall, rolled, and hurled the emergency lightburst device toward Rake. A flash exploded in the room, white and blinding. Rake staggered, claws raised to shield his eyes. Vale sprinted forward, grabbed his wrist, twisted sharply, and knocked the signal device to the ground. It skidded across the floor, crashing into a server panel. Rake roared and lunged at her. Vale ducked, pivoted, and used his momentum against him. She struck his shoulder, not to injure, but to destabilize him, and forced him to stumble back. You can't stop this, Rake snarled. You're wrong, Vale said. She kicked his leg out from under him. He fell hard, disoriented. Vale smashed her boot down on the fallen signal device, crushing it completely. The room went still. The vibration stopped. Rake growled, struggling to rise. Vale stayed steady, breathing hard but focused. You think destroying one device matters? He said. There are more. Not after I expose you. Rake's eyes widened with something close to fear. You would destroy the Academy's greatest project? I'll protect my cadets, Vale said. That's my job. Footsteps suddenly echoed in the hallway. Halden and 2 guards rushed inside. Vale, Halden gasped. We followed your signal. What happened? Vale pointed at Rake. Arrest him. The guards didn't hesitate. They restrained the commander, who hissed in fury as they held him down. You're making a mistake, Rake shouted. Humans will destroy themselves without guidance. Humans don't need control, Vale said. We need trust. They led Rake away. Vale exhaled deeply and looked at Halden. How's Lyran? He's safe, Halden said. And he said the pressure in his head disappeared the moment the lights flickered in this room. Vale nodded. Then it's over. Not long after, the council held a silent emergency meeting. Rake's unauthorized project was exposed. His access was revoked. Every device he touched was confiscated. The Academy released a formal statement. All cadets, human or otherwise, would be protected equally. No one would be used as an experiment. Days later, Vale stood in the training hall again, watching her students. Lyran stepped forward, healthier, calmer, but with new determination in his eyes. Instructor, he said softly. Thank you. Vale smiled a rare, small smile. You fought harder than anyone. Remember that. Lyran nodded with pride. Training resumed. Human cadets thrived. And the Academy learned a lesson it would never forget. Humanity could not be controlled. Humanity rose, adapted, resisted. Humanity endured. Because humans, no matter the threat, always found a way to stand back up, and Vale would always be there to protect them.